Hi, you guys. How are you? Sorry. Sorry I'm late. So, how are you guys? I hope you guys are good. Hope everybody is good. Okay. So, Casey Anthony, for those of you that don't know, 14 years ago, Casey Anthony went on trial for the murder of her daughter. Now, it was the trial of the century. This was, you think Kaylee case is huge. The Casey Anthony case was huge. And let me tell you, when that verdict of not guilty came down, it was crazy. People were fist fighting outside of the courthouse. Like, she had to go into hiding. She had to have security guards 24/7. Like, it was insane. People wanted to kill her. She literally was the most hated mother in America because she walked on a freaking technicality. I believe. And I believe her mother helped her case. I believe her mother, the person who turned her in the first place, ended up helping her daughter out in the end. Okay. So, Kaylee never got justice. She was 2 years old. She never got justice. But what is happening now? Her mother, Casey Anthony, is making a comeback. Now she's coming out with a brand new documentary 14 years later. A brand new documentary about what happened to her daughter. I'll give you a little hint. She still don't know. She claims she still doesn't know what happened to her daughter. All right, so we're going to recap some of this case, go over some things. I did put Kaylee's picture as right here on the screen, as you guys can see, so everybody can remember what this little girl looked like. That unfortunately, she did not get justice because there has never been, no one has ever been charged with her death. Hey, CDC, you got your notification. That's awesome. This trial was huge. It's astounding. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget when that verdict came down and they said not guilty, and the world, I swear, the world went silent. Like, for a minute, because nobody could believe it. No, you do not need to watch her documentary. But I'm just saying, she's coming back out now. Apparently in 2016, she came out and tried to have a photography business, but nobody would work with her. Duh. And then I guess in 2018, they were going to make a movie with her. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it didn't go anywhere. It never came to be. And now here she is again, trying to come out and make money off of listen, lady, society has not forgiven you. And that's just how it is. It's insane. So we're going to go over everything that happened. All right, so let me share my screen with you guys. All right. Hold on a second, you guys. All right. Whoa. Okay. The trial of the century, Casey Anthony and the mysterious death of her toddler, Kaylee. Some cases come and go through the courts without too much thought. Then there are others which grab the world as everyone hangs on every detail that comes to light. That was the case for the trial of the century. That's right. We're talking about Casey Anthony. Okay. Kaylee Marie Anthony was born in 2005 after repeated denial from Casey Anthony that she was pregnant. At just 19 years old, Casey Anthony was seemingly worried about telling the world the news that she was pregnant. It wasn't long before the mom-to-be started denying all the accusations, even though she still lived with her parents, George and Cindy Anthony. However, there was no denying the truth when Casey went into labor and welcomed her daughter. Kaylee Marie Anthony was born on August 9th, 2005, but no one knew who her biological father was. There were rumors it was Casey's fiance at the time, Jesse Grunn, but that was later revealed to be untrue. There were also hints it could have been a former fling who lost his life in a car accident. She didn't know who Kaylee's father was. Even though a friend reported Casey Anthony initially wanted to give her daughter up for adoption, it's believed that her mom, Cindy, convinced Casey to keep her daughter and step up as a mom. So that already, hello, she didn't want a daughter to begin with. Her mother convinced her to, listen, you have a baby, now step up and be a mom. Yeah, it would have worked out much better for Kaylee if Casey would have given her up for adoption. She might still be alive today. Okay, sorry. Okay. Cindy convinced to help, Casey lived with her parents in Florida at the family home. Here, everything seems so normal, even on the day Kaylee Anthony was last seen. Cindy Anthony later confessed she left for work at 7 a.m. in the morning of June 16th, 2008. Apparently, everyone else was still asleep, but it seems Casey woke up within the next hour. Activity on her password-protected social media account suggests Casey logged in to her page and spoke to friends as she searched for a costume for a party. No one is really sure what happened that caused Casey Anthony to storm out of her parents' house later on the morning of June 16th, 2008. However, the Sun reports that an argument between Cindy and Casey was to blame. According to the report, Cindy questioned whether her daughter was fit to be a mother and care for Kaylee. Oh, come on. Other reports state the fight actually happened on Father's Day, the day before she left. Whatever the case, Casey grabbed Kaylee, packed the family car, and left with her almost 3-year-old daughter. It's also believed that Casey refused to see her parents and talk things through, even though they asked to smooth things over and for the duo to return home. So she just picked up her daughter, took off, and left. No one ever saw Kaylee again. Look at her. That is her sitting in court. What does that look like to you? Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Look at her. What are you smiling about, lady? What started as Casey Anthony storming out of the house resulted in her and Kaylee Anthony going missing for 31 days. Apparently, Cindy and George tried to contact the pair multiple times throughout the month, but they were always met with excuses. Although Casey answered their calls, Kaylee was never around to talk to her grandparents for 31 days. The pair later explained how Casey would always have an excuse for where Kaylee was. Sometimes the toddler was with her nanny, Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, better known as Zanny the nanny. Other times, the mom claimed that Kaylee was either at the beach or theme park, or that she was too busy with work to fetch her daughter. Leaving the family car in a parking lot for several days was all it took for Casey Anthony's vehicle to be impounded and towed to a local yard. George Anthony was the one who learned it had been towed and knew he needed to get it back, even if it meant bailing Casey out of another issue. However, he instantly noticed something strange. George said that he was immediately overwhelmed by a horrific smell coming from the car, even though there was nothing more than a bag of trash in the trunk. In fact, George instantly started to think the car smelled like someone who had lost their life had been inside. Oh my God. Hold on, I gotta. Okay. Whoa. Learning the car had been towed and the smell of something horrific in the vehicle was all George and Cindy Anthony needed to bring their daughter home. Casey had been staying with friends, but they weren't entirely sure how to track her down. That's when Cindy got her detective hat on and contacted a woman named Amy Huzanga. I'm going to say, I'm probably saying that wrong. Amy knew just where Casey had been staying. She took Cindy to find her daughter, who had an immediate confession. Apparently, Casey hadn't seen Kaylee the entire time she was gone, claiming various tales about what happened to the toddler. No one knew this was the start of something that would change the Anthony family for life. Well, it should have been a clue when you get your daughter and she's like, hey, I haven't seen my daughter in 31 days. Don't know what happened to her. I mean, what in the hell? Of course, one of the immediate things people wanted to know was why Casey Anthony never told anyone that Kaylee was missing. She explained to Cindy how she believed she could handle the situation and bring Kaylee back on her own. Apparently, Casey was gravely mistaken, leading Cindy to place a number of calls to 911. Cindy admitted during the call that she found out that my granddaughter has been taken and how Kaylee had been missing for a month. However, Cindy made a strange revelation when she told the police there is something wrong. According to her, it smelled as though someone had lost their life in the car Casey had been using. Some parents, such as Cynthia Hag, are lucky enough to be reunited with their children, even after 21 years. Others, like Cindy Anthony, have no idea if they will ever see their family again. However, that wasn't initially why Cindy called the police. It all started with her asking officers to arrest Casey for stealing the car and stealing money. It's said that Cindy told the officers that she had someone here who needed to be arrested, but things didn't end there. It was later noted that Cindy seemed immediately suspicious of her daughter and the story about what happened to Kaylee. After all, most parents wouldn't wait 31 days to admit their toddler was missing. Ding freaking dang. Casey Anthony initially told police that Kaylee had been kidnapped by Zanny the nanny. It didn't take long for Casey Anthony to get her story straight. The first police officers on the scene needed to learn everything they could about what might have happened to 2-year-old Kaylee Anthony, and started with the last time she was seen. Casey explained that Zanny the nanny was the one behind the kidnapping. According to Casey, Zanny kidnapped Casey on June 9th, 2008, which is the day after she left her parents' house. The reason she didn't get help sooner or contact the police, Casey said it was fear of the unknown, and she was naive enough to think she could handle the disappearance herself. Oh, handle it, right? Handle it while you're out there clubbing, slutting it up. However, it was only when Cindy learned the truth that Casey realized, obviously, I couldn't. Hey, you guys, please remember to hit that thumbs up and please consider subbing to the channel if you have not done so. Things continue to take plenty of twists and turns in the disappearance of Caylee Anthony as Casey opened up about how she met Zanny the nanny in the first place. According to Casey, she was introduced to her through her boyfriend, Jeff Hopkins, and they immediately struck up a friendship. At least that's what she told her mom. The story claimed Casey met and fell for Jeff as he had a son named Zach, who was the same age as Kaylee, meaning the pair had plenty in common. It's believed Casey also told Cindy that Jeff worked at Nickelodeon and was wealthy, thanks to his high ranking position. Apparently, there was never any reason to doubt Casey. It seems there were plenty of reasons that Cindy believed. Crap, I went up too far. Casey Anthony's story about being with someone called Jeff Hopkins. As well as having her daughter's word, Cindy also found a photo on her phone. Cindy admitted Casey had a picture of a man and a boy who Casey claimed was Jeff, and he was labeled as her boyfriend. However, there were once again always excuses why they couldn't meet. Casey claimed Jeff's mom, Jules, had cancer. Even though there were plans for Jeff and Jules to visit, they canceled at the last minute. Casey also claimed she was in Jacksonville with her daughter for a surprise wedding for Jules around the time that Kaylee went missing. The police needed to cover all bases, so they started investigating Jeff Hopkins to see if he was involved in Caylee Anthony's going missing. Although they found someone with the name who knew Casey, they weren't together as she claimed. Instead, they had known each other in middle school and seemingly had not spoken to each other since. Jeff told the police that he had never dated Casey and that they were not together as she claimed. That wasn't all. Casey claimed it was Jeff who introduced her to Zanny the nanny, the woman who supposedly kidnapped Kaylee. According to Jeff, all of this was nothing more than a lie, as he stated that none of that ever happened. Oh my God. It sucks. I can't believe she got away with this. Another aspect another aspect of Casey Anthony's life that came to light was how she worked at Universal Studios. This was one of the many reasons she often claimed Cindy and George couldn't talk to their granddaughter while they were missing. Amazingly, all of that quickly started to unravel the more the police looked into Casey's personal life. The investigators seemed to know that something was up with Casey's story, so they started pressing her for details. While they eventually learned the truth about what Casey had been doing, it appeared that the tale of her job had nothing to do with Kaylee going missing. Instead, it was a lie that Casey had maintained for years. Look at her. I mean, she's smiling again. Why is this chick always smiling? Yeah, there's some of her crying, but it was more when she was crying, it was, oh, poor me, because everybody, hates me. Of course everybody hates you, but look at her. Investigators took Casey to Universal Studios the day after Caylee Anthony was reported missing. Here they asked for a tour of her offices, something Casey was all too happy to show off. However, something was off. Casey didn't seem to have passes or anything that linked her to having a job at the studio. It was like she didn't exist. In the end, Casey led the police around for 25 minutes before she stopped, smiled, and jokingly admitted that she did not work there. Apparently, she lost her job 2 years ago, but had continued to tell her parents she worked there for years. No one is entirely sure why Casey fabricated the lie about her career. Probably why she fabricated a lie about everything else. The lady is a pathological liar. The story about her work at Universal Studios seemed to be the final straw for officers. They started to believe that Casey Anthony had all the signs of being a liar and were ready for the truth. Officers told Casey as much when they warned her if she continued down this path and continued lying, there would be issues. The police said the only person that's going to hurt is you before they made their next bold move. On July 16th, 2008, Casey was arrested and charged with giving the police false statements, obstruction of a criminal investigation, and child neglect. The judge denied bail, claiming that Casey had a woeful disregard for the welfare of her child. Casey Anthony was behind bars, and the investigation continued to try and figure out what happened to her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee Anthony. Just a few days later, on July 22nd, 2008, a hearing tells the court that a cadaver dog, dogs trained to detect if someone who has lost their life has been in the area, had unsettling news. The dogs apparently picked up scents in the Anthony's backyard and in the trunk of the car. Even though Casey was only charged with minor crimes at this point, the judge believed her lack of care and the evidence warranted a $500,000 bail. This was paid by bounty hunter Leonard Padilla in the hopes Casey would cooperate with the investigation. Even though she was out on bail, it seemed Casey Anthony couldn't stay on the right side of the law. Her bail was paid on August 21st, 2008, yet she somehow ended up getting arrested again on August 29th. This time, it wasn't to do with the disappearance of Caylee Anthony. Instead, it was writing and cashing fraudulent checks. It's reported that Casey wrote 4 checks from Amy's checking account without her permission, the same friend who led Cindy to her daughter all those weeks before. Instead of stealing almost $650 from her friend, Casey was arrested and charged. However, the police said it had nothing to do with the original investigation into Kaylee's whereabouts. I mean, how insane is that? That is so crazy to me. Okay. Things almost took a major turn in the case in August 2008. Days before Casey Anthony was arrested, bailed, and arrested again, someone called the police. Roy Kronk worked as a meter reader and made several calls to the police on August 11th, 12th, and 13th. Apparently, he found something suspicious in the woods near the Anthony home. Supposedly, Roy was told to call the tip line, which he did, but he never heard back. It wasn't until Roy made multiple calls that 2 officers arrived. Even then, no one took him seriously. He allegedly explained he thought he saw a skull in a gray bag. However, the officers claimed there was nothing there after a short search. The investigators had little more than circumstantial evidence that pointed to Casey Anthony having something to do with Kaylee going missing. Sure, the cadaver dogs found something in her car and backyard, and they had proof that she lied about various aspects of her life. Still, there was no proof that Casey directly caused her 2-year-old to vanish. That did not stop the police from charging Casey Anthony with taking someone's life in the first degree on October 14th, 2008. Searches failed to locate Kaylee, and no one had any idea where she could be, leading the police to think her life had been ended. Casey was also charged with providing false information and aggravated child abuse. That little girl lost her life, and still today, 14 years later, nobody's been charged with her death because I believe, in my opinion, allegedly, the freaking killer walked right out of the courtroom. Certain details of crimes are often kept from the public to avoid any false confessions. However, It appeared that investigators working on the Casey Anthony case were willing to tell the public about everything they found along the way. One of the many things was a report released on October 24th, 2008, which spoke about potential evidence in Casey's car. It claimed that a hair found in the trunk was microscopically similar to hairs from Kaylee's hairbrush. It's also said the found hair had root banding, something that happens when someone passes, and showed characteristics of apparent decomp. To top it off, an air sample taken from the trunk showed chemical compounds that were consistent with someone being dead. Even though the initial police officers said they couldn't find anything when they searched the area reported to the tip line, Roy Kronk was seemingly determined that there was something there. Perhaps that's why he called the police again on December 11th, 2008. Still, 4 months had passed since his original call, meaning there was no telling what they would find. Tragically, this search resulted in a discovery. They quickly found the remains of a child who had been stuffed into a trash bag. There was also some tissue left on the child's skull and a piece of duct tape hanging from some remaining hair on her head, on their head. It took 4 days before the investigators found all the bones. Nine days passed before the world had the answer they expected. The remains belonged to 2-year-old Caylee Anthony. Suddenly, the hunch that the toddler had lost her life became a tragic reality. The Orange County medical examiner was in charge of performing an autopsy. Still, things weren't as clear as many hoped they would be. The state of the bones meant it was impossible for them to determine how Caylee lost her life. All they knew was that she showed no signs of trauma. They couldn't even confirm if the duct tape around the nose and mouth was why she passed away, instead ruling Kaylee's passing as loss of life through undetermined means. I mean, what is that all about, you guys? Is that crazy? Sometimes it can take years for people to learn the truth about what happened to someone. Alyssa Turney's family went through years of turmoil before they finally had an answer. But that wasn't the case for Caylee Anthony. Instead, things appeared to be coming fast and furious from the case. It seemed it was all too much for George Anthony. George was found in Florida hotel on January 23rd, 2009, with a 5-page note about how he planned to take his own life. He was first reported missing by Brad Conway, the family's lawyer, before cell phone tracking led police to George. Most believed it was depression, while others argued George felt guilty about something and wanted out. See those pictures right there? Those pictures are of Casey while her daughter was missing, before she was even reported missing. Those 31 days, that was Casey. Hold on a second, you guys. Okay. The doctors managed to work on George Anthony, who had consumed various medicines and saved his life. However, that didn't stop the police from continuing with their investigation. They needed to discover who ended Caylee Anthony's life, with many believing Casey was the one behind the horrific crime. They quickly looked into the mom's behavior while Caylee was missing. It didn't take long for the investigators to learn that Casey had spent her time partying while Caylee was gone. The autopsy revealed Caylee had passed away sometime in June 2008. 6 months, you guys. 6 months her remains were out there. A time when Casey was spotted at several parties. To top it off, Kaylee never told her roommates or friends that her toddler was missing. I mean, how much more do you need to know? Seriously. How much? How much more evidence? I mean, not evidence, but how much more do you need to know about a person to say she didn't give a shit about her daughter? She did this. Like, what is the problem here? You know, I believe that something happened with that jury, and I'll never think otherwise because that doesn't even make sense. Okay. Even before the police found Kaylee Anthony's remains, many believed that Kaylee had something to do with her disappearance. They just needed to find some evidence. One of the ways they seemingly tried to do this was by working with Kaylee to drop other charges against her, including providing false statements to the law. The first partial immunity deal came in July 2008 when they offered to drop some of the other charges if she cooperated. She refused. Eventually, the charges of taking someone's life in the first degree in October 2008 meant Kaylee was out of plea options. Plus, the prosecution pushed to seek capital punishment, something which was originally off the table. Should have locked her ass up and threw away the key. That's where she should be. In the end, 400 pieces of evidence were brought against Kaylee Anthony in court. 400 pieces of evidence. One was the hair found in the trunk of the car, while another was the story from Roy, who had found Kaylee's remains. One that seemed to hit pretty hard was the air sample from the trunk that suggested someone's dead body was inside. Apparently, there were 5 compounds out of a potential 400 that suggested someone had lost their life and been placed in that car. However, it was argued that there was no way to determine that that was the case. Another piece of evidence submitted to the court was evidence that chloroform had been found in the trunk of the car. Going through a computer that Kaylee Anthony had access to at her family home revealed some disturbing searches by someone. While they didn't prove that Kaylee was behind them all, it was at a time she was potentially still at home. The day Kaylee disappeared, someone searched for foolproof suffocation. Hello. I mean, it pisses me off to no end. Like, I can't even believe that, you know, and now she gets to, she just went on living her life. And now she just gets to come out, make these documentaries, make money off of this. I mean, it's insane to me. It is insane. Whoever searched the term ended up on a website criticizing sites advising people to take their lives, stating there is no foolproof way to do so. Among the 700 pages submitted to the court, wow, were other disturbing searches. These included how to make chloroform and neck breaking, suggesting that something terrible had happened at the Anthony house. Oh my gosh. Whoa. I mean, it's just sickening to me. Our justice system seriously failed in this case. Long before George and Cindy learned what had happened to Kaylee Anthony, they were already suspicious about something. However, they had no idea what was making Kaylee allegedly act so shady. It started on June 24th, 2008. Thank you. Almost 20 days since they'd last seen Kaylee alive. George had actually called the police on his daughter and accused her of theft. It was revealed that Kaylee returned home to take some gas canisters from the family shed. George noticed the break-in and reported it to the police before Casey returned home. Although George went to get the canisters, Casey reportedly rushed over and insisted she would go in the trunk instead, allegedly trying to block George's view of the car. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kind of like the two people walking around the car trying to keep somebody from seeing in the back. I'm just saying. John Dennis Bradley was one of the many witnesses who testified in the Casey Anthony case. He had developed software to use in investigations to see how someone uses their computer, including internet searches they make. John initially claimed someone had used the computer to search for chloroform 84 times, suggesting that Casey planned to end Kaylee's life. I mean, that's crazy, you guys. That is insane. I mean, I'm going to go. What do you guys think? Hey, Nama, I know a lot of you guys watched it. I know some of you guys didn't. I know some people, it was 14 years ago. But those of you that did, what did you guys think? Okay. However, it was later admitted that there was a flaw in the software and something malfunctioned. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that I believe that this person was also paid off to change his testimony. However, it was later admitted that there was a flaw in the software and something malfunctioned. John confessed that whatever went wrong made it look as though it was searched 84 times, but really it was only searched once. Bull crap. Bullshit. Apparently, the site someone clicked on spoke about how chloroform was used in the 19th century. Oh, okay. I can see here it says that you searched chloroform 84 times. The next day, oh, no, there was a glitch in the software. So it said they searched 84 times, but really they only searched once. Oh, come on. Get out of here. The question most people had on their minds was, how did Caylee Anthony lose her life? It was something the prosecution needed to address if they stood a chance of winning this case. On June 6, 2011, Arpid Voss took to the stand to talk about the levels of chloroform found in the trunk of the car. Arpid testified there was a shockingly high amount of chloroform in the trunk. The chemical can be used as a household cleaner. Okay, I see where this is going, right? And is released when someone loses their life. Leading Arpid to believe Kaylee had been in the trunk after she passed away. However, an FBI agent later testified the chloroform could have easily been from a cleaner instead. Each horrific case usually has its own sticking point. In the case of the Girl Scout slayings, it was the tragic events and the fact the girls were supposed to be at camp. For Casey Anthony, it was apparently the heart-shaped mark on the duct tape found on Kaylee's skull. It all started with FBI forensics expert Elizabeth Fontaine. Elizabeth testified that there was evidence a heart-shaped sticker had been placed on the duct tape over Kaylee's mouth at some point. There was no way to tell if it had been placed there before or after it was taped over her mouth. However, the announcement was enough for anti-Kaylee protesters to wear tape with heart stickers of their own. The duct tape on Caylee Anthony's skull was subject to a host of tests. Elizabeth Fontaine also performed a dye test, meaning any residue of the heart-shaped sticker was gone when it came to time to test it again. To top it off, another FBI analyst later testified there was no evidence the sticker had ever been on the duct tape. If the prosecution had managed to prove the sticker was on the tape, they would have had a strong case. That's because a similar roll of stickers had been found in Kaylee's bedroom, meaning they would have likely been able to link Casey to ending Kaylee's life by placing the tape over her daughter's nose and mouth. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense. So, if the prosecution had managed to prove the sticker was on the tape, right, they would have had a strong case. That's because a similar roll of stickers had been found in Kaylee's bedroom. So match the sticker that's in her room to the freaking outline of the sticker on the duct tape. I know. I know. Several witnesses were called to the stand during Casey Anthony's trial. One of the many was Simon Birch, who was the manager of the yard where Casey's car ended up after it was towed. He was with George when the pair collected the car. In June 2011, he testified to finding several bodies in vehicles over the years. Having 3 decades of experience meant Simon was convinced the smell coming from the trunk was from someone who had been passed away. One of the biggest pieces of evidence was Cindy telling the police it smelled just like a body. However, Cindy, dum-dum, later recanted that statement, saying it smelled like a bag of pizza had been inside for 12 days. Cindy, you called the cops on your daughter. You said that it smelled like there was a dead body in the car. Okay, you haven't seen your granddaughter in how long, then you smell a dead body, you call the cops. And then when you get to court, you feel so bad, like you've betrayed your daughter, that you lie, that you recant your story. Because I'm going to tell you right now that I guarantee you that 12-day-old pizza does not smell the same as a dead body. Right? Am I right or am I wrong? Holy freaking moly. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, boy. I mean, it's so insane. All right. So not only did you take back your statement about the smell of the car, but then you say that you're the one that searched for the chloroform? Why? Because you felt like you failed your daughter? I mean, it's so sickening. I'd like to smack both of them. Initially, Cindy Anthony was one of the main witnesses in the case against Casey. After all, she was the one who called the police to report Kaylee was missing. Cindy was also the one who first heard Casey's version of events involving Zanny the nanny. Sadly for the prosecution, Cindy changed her tune at trial. Here, Cindy claims she was the one who searched for chloroform on the home computer and not Casey. According to Cindy, the stain in the trunk was also already there, and so it couldn't have been from Kaylee. This all came among accusations that there was proof that Cindy was at work at the time the search was made on the computer. So they know she lied because she was at work, but she lied on the stand. She totally screwed this case. She was one of the biggest witnesses against her daughter, and she freaking screwed it up. The prosecution had its time on the stand, and it wasn't long before the defense got to present their version of events. It turned out Casey Anthony had a very different story to tell about what happened to Kaylee. Jose Baez was the lead attorney and stated that no one had deliberately ended 2-year-old Kaylee's life in June of 2008. Instead, Jose proposed the toddler lost her life by accidentally drowning in the family's pool. That was just the beginning. The defense also argued that Casey had nothing to do with moving her daughter's body to the woods or not getting the police involved. She claimed it was her father, George, who was in charge of the disposal of Kaylee. Going through a traumatic event can lead us to act in all kinds of ways. According to Casey Anthony, the reason she went along with George's plan about hiding Kaylee's body was that she was scared of how her dad reacted. She claimed George shouted, "Your mother will never forgive you," when she found Kaylee in the pool. When he found Kaylee in the pool. She added George allegedly told her she was going to jail for the rest of her freaking life. Cell phone records showed George called Casey the day Kaylee disappeared, with the former claiming her dad said, "I took care of everything and don't tell Cindy." George and Cindy noticed their pool ladder was next to the pool several days later. Oh, yes. And then this lady, okay. Then she wants to start crying abuse in the middle of a freaking murder trial. Of course she does, right? Always the victim. Makes me sick. Jose Baez had plenty to say about why Casey Anthony went along with George's alleged plan to cover up Kaylee's accidental passing, including new allegations. The lawyer stated Casey had spent years finding and coping mechanisms to deal with the years of abuse she suffered at the hands of her father. Jose said Casey was hiding her pain. The lawyer wasn't done there. As Jose continued to state, Casey mentally went back to that deep, dark place called denial. It's not uncommon for people to shut themselves away from trauma as a way to cope. Jose claimed that Casey ignoring the fact Kaylee had lost her life was a way of pretending as if nothing was wrong. Casey went on and lived her life and went out and partied and hung out with her friends and went and got tattoos for those 31 days when her grandparents had no idea what happened to their granddaughter. I mean, this is so insane to me. The closing arguments were both sides' final chance to try and win over Okay, can you guys hear me now? Okay. I don't know how much you guys heard. So what's the last thing did you hear about her sentence being canceled out? All right, now, Stella. Okay. Yeah. It's usual for trials to elicit pretty strong emotions from the public, especially one as horrific and tragic as Caylee Anthony. It was no surprise to many that the not guilty verdict upset thousands of people across the world. Time magazine even went as far as calling Casey Anthony's trial the social media trial of the century. Around 100 protesters all arrived at the jail the day Casey Anthony was released to protest the verdict, demanding justice for Kaylee. Others argued the jury didn't fully understand the meaning of reasonable doubt when reaching their decisions. Some even claimed the prosecution relied too heavily on Casey's character, hi baby, as they couldn't prove how Kaylee passed away. Yep, come here. Got it? There, got it. I mean, you guys, that's crazy. And then it just goes on to say how she started that photography business and nobody would work with her. The nanny tried, the actual person that with that name tried to sue her and it got denied. Yep, she had to be protected by security. Oh, poor her. Poor her. Hearing the not guilty verdict was supposed to be a moment for Casey Anthony to turn her life around. However, things didn't get off to the best start. Casey immediately left Orlando the day she was released in the hopes of starting a new life in an undisclosed location. Hold on, babe. That was until August 2011 when she had to return. It turned out Casey had to serve her 1-year probation in Florida. However, being such a public face meant most people recognized her. This eventually meant the court had to make special accommodations, such as not making her address public and keeping details out of the criminal database. Casey also had a security team to protect her. I mean, and now she's back again, wanting to come out and make a documentary and yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's so insane to me. Isn't that so sad? I mean, isn't that, it's like, it's sad, it's enraging, it's infuriating, it's like, it's everything. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I'm going to needed some, yeah. All right, let me pull up some pictures for you guys to see them of this. Hold on. Oh, look, there she is. Partying it up while her daughter is missing, and she hadn't even reported her missing. And she's just having a grand old time. Yes, because a lot of people, are going to buy right into it. She's going to come out and she's going to pretend to be, and next thing you know, the world we live in now, the upside down we live in now, she'll be America's freaking next sweetheart. I can't even take it. Well, she was 19 when she had Kaylee. Kaylee died in 2008, and she was almost 3, and it's 2022 now. Do you know what she said? She is now, which is insane, you guys. She now has her own, she's a freaking private investigator. Who even, she is a private investigator. I mean, that's so crazy to me. And she said that one of her biggest motivational cases, you'll never guess what it is. We're talking about Casey Anthony. She's a freaking private investigator now. Yeah, she started her own like business. She said that one of the biggest cases that she studied as far as what she wants to do was O.J. Simpson. Go freaking figure, right? 2 people that walked on murder charges. And that was her biggest case, right? That was her biggest thing she had to study. Now she said she wants to help other people who have been falsely accused of crimes. Oh, Mrs. G. She absolutely did, in my opinion, allegedly. She moved in when she got out of jail, when she got out and she got not guilty. She moved in with the leading private investigator of her case. Yeah, moved in with the guy. She couldn't pay him, so she moved in with him, right? And it came out a lot during the trial that she was doing things with her lawyer to pay her lawyer because she didn't have any money. She was in debt. So she moved in with this private investigator, and he took her under his wing and taught her how to be a private investigator, apparently. And yep, now she wants to help other people who have been falsely accused, as she says. Oh my God, you guys, you can't make this stuff. And this is the world that we live in. That's what I'm saying. Now she's going to come out. She's going to come out and pretend to be this like whole new person. You know, she's helping other people. She's doing this. She's doing that. She's a private investigator. And, you know, and then next thing you know, she'll be America's sweetheart. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that I didn't forget. And I don't think a lot of people in the world forgot who you are and what you did. I think everybody should boycott that thing. And I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just saying I will not. I don't. I mean, it's so crazy that she should get any money off of that. The name of her business. Hold on, I will tell you. It is. Here, I'll share this with you guys and read the rest of this article. And then it'll tell you the name of her business and stuff. And all right, let's check it out. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's how Casey and her dad, he got in a bad accident in 2018 and almost died. And so that's what brought those two back together. They said they hadn't talked in years. But they got back together in 2018 and now he said he forgave her. So, okay. um, Hold on, I gotta go up here. Okay, yep, that's about how she was in debt and she couldn't pay. Reports claim Casey Anthony's lawyer accepted illegal payments and knew she ended Kaylee's life. It was reported that she told him that she killed her daughter and he covered it up for her. Again, allegedly. Okay. Casey Anthony eventually moved in with a private investigator from her case. It seemed that Casey Anthony might have more of a connection to private investigators than them accusing her of all sorts of things behind the scenes. In 2017, Casey admitted to Associated Press that she wanted to turn her life around and start work on a new career. Apparently, she was influenced by someone in particular from her trial. Casey confessed she was living with Pat McKenna, the leading private investigator from her case, where she said she was learning all about the job from her new mentor and even working on some online cases with Pat. According to Casey, she was also inspired to pursue the career thanks to her obsession with the O.J. Simpson case. It turns out Casey Anthony has kept pretty busy since she was accused of ending her 2-year-old daughter's life. In fact, she attempted to start her own photography business back in 2016. Sadly for Casey, she had to put an end to it all when the public learned about her true identity. Okay, apparently people were more interested in asking her questions about the case than booking her services. In December 2020, Casey launched a new business in the form of Case Research and Consulting Services, LLC. While she has no interest in researching Kaylee's case, Casey says she aims to help others who have been falsely accused of a crime. So it's Case Research and Consulting Services, LLC is the name of her company. She plans on writing a book all about losing Caylee Anthony and the trial. Some people want to put something traumatic behind them and move on with their lives. Others know they have no choice but to embrace everything that's happened. It appears Casey Anthony might have to get used to the accusations that she ended Kaylee's life following her around forever. After all, it's a tough reputation to shake. One way that Casey is seemingly coping with all this is by writing a book. A source allegedly told In Touch in 2020 that Casey is working on a detailed and definitive account of her life, which includes how it felt to lose Kaylee and everything that came after the trial. Apparently, she already had 3 chapters written. Look at that little girl. It's not just a book that could be on the way. In 2019, Casey Anthony told the Daily Mail she was working on a movie titled As I Was Told. According to Casey, she named it that because that's what she was allegedly doing, what I was told to do. However, she wanted to tell her side of the story. Casey continued to state she had to put on a fake persona the entire 31 days that Kaylee was missing, and she was forced to carry on like nothing had happened. While things were once underway, a source admitted to People magazine in 2020 that the big cough saw the movie fail to get off the ground and stopped any momentum. Oh, and now she's open to having more children. A source spoke to People magazine in October 2018 where they had plenty to share about Casey Anthony's life. Of course, one of the many things discussed during her trial was Casey's parenting skills. Plenty spoke about how they felt she should never have become a mother, let alone welcome more children into the world. However, the source claimed Casey had gone from saying no way to being open to it. That doesn't mean everyone is impressed, including George Anthony. He hinted at being nervous about the idea, telling the world, I hope she does better this time around than what she did the last time. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, I mean, she's still a terrible person. She did get, in my opinion, she did get away with murder. And because of that, no one will ever be charged with her daughter's death. So she'll have a book coming out soon. If anybody's interested in reading a book written by a freaking liar and a killer, allegedly. But yeah, she does have that freaking documentary coming out on Peacock. And I watched a trailer of it, and I'll give you a little hint. She still says she don't know what happened to her daughter. So she's about to find out that the world is not as forgiving a place as she might think. So I wanted to share that with everybody. I want to thank you guys for being here. Let me show you this picture. Okay, hold on. Let me pull up this picture. This is her. While her child is missing and she hadn't even reported her missing. I'm just saying, this is who she is. People like that don't change, in my opinion. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, that's insane. Oh, that's insane. Okay, so I love you guys. Please, thank you for being here. Please hit that thumbs up. Please share this video. Please spread the word. Please subscribe and think about joining the channel if you haven't already. And anybody who wants to make a donation, the links are all down in the description below. We appreciate everything. I love you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Keep asking those hard questions. And let's make this world a better place. All right, you guys. Everybody have a good night.